According to the Pew Research Center, over 68% of Americans believe that major tech companies have too much economic influence. I am a part of that 68%. However, I believe that this subject can be brought into corporations as a whole having too much power. I was forced to move across the country because of a corporation cutting costs. We were victims of a gross enforcement of corporate power. They had the power to destroy our lives, and they, they took full advantage of that fact. You should know about this because it's more likely than not you'll work for a big corporation someday. According to the trusted professional newspaper, 39.2% of Americans work at mega corporations. If you knew you were going to work for a mega corporation, would you want the corporation to have power over you, or you have power over the corporation? I think most people would choose the latter. The problem is corporations have too much power in our global society, and the solution is legislation at the country and global levels needs to be written and enacted to limit the influence these corporations have. Now let me break down exactly how corporations have too much power. Democrats, Republicans, and the American people as a whole believe big business wields too much power. According to the New York Times, Republicans in Washington and around the country have soured on big business, joining Democrats in expressing concerns that corporations wield too much influence. The numbers behind this fact are shocking too. According to the Pew Research Center, 80% of Republicans and 74% of Democrats believe that corporations wield too much economic influence. Now, when was the last time you saw Democrats and Republicans agree so unanimously on an issue? This shows just how urgent the problems with big business are. Another reason is the overrepresentation of corporations in terms of lobbyists. According to Progressive Policy, for each one lobbyist representing a union or public interest group, there are now 16 lobbyists representing business interests. This shows the excessive level of influence that corporations have on the government when it comes to lobbying. Now, some may say that big business isn't all bad. According to the Harvard Business Review, big business is more productive, innovative, diverse, better paying, offer more training for their employees, broader benefits for employees, and spends more money on limiting pollutions. While this may be true, and I believe this is true, when comparing big corporations to small corporations, if big corporations didn't produce so much pollution, they wouldn't have to spend so much money to counteract it. Continuing, the only reason mega corporations are superior in the other aspects is because they have more people and funds to throw at the problem. It doesn't mean corporations are more skillful than small business. It just means they have more resources to solve the problem. The only way to rebalance the scales of mega corporations is to limit their potential power at both a country and global scale. The solutions. Corporate power should be limited by global legislation rather than state or country legislation. According to the Financial Times, the growth of public shaming masks an underlying institutional weakness. There is very limited global governance at a global scale, and countries are largely bound by national laws rather than international treaties. This means there is little restriction for corporations at a global scale. Global legislation would fix this problem. We also need to reduce the maximum size of supercorporations. According to Pew Research, 55% of Americans say the government should limit major tech companies' ability to grow. This shows that people don't believe that big corporations have a just amount of power, and I agree. We must rein in this power before corporations secure it indefinitely. These steps are necessary to ensure corporations can't abuse their power anymore. The problem. Corporate power power needs to be limited by legislation at a global scale, and legislation needs to be written to reduce the maximum size of corporations. While more mega corporations may have some benefits, the cons far outweigh the pros. We have to make global legislation to limit corporate power. Additionally, we have to reduce their size, cut them down a little. Dethroning corporations is no small task. However, if we wish to live freely, knowing these corporations can abuse us, we must limit their potential power. Thank you.